Welcome to the podcast. Today, we're going to talk about the business failure rate and why it's somewhere in the upper 90s. We're going to talk about why not all advice is good advice. We're going to talk about why big corporations are doing their best to keep you down. We're going to talk about the absolute dangers of actually borrowing money to make your business successful, and the one thing you should actually focus on that will set you up for success no matter where you're starting at in your business. And we're going to talk about why being the product service expert in your business might actually be the biggest thing leading to your failure and not your success. I'm Dennis.
And I'm Greg.
And this is the More Profit, Less Stress podcast,
where we provide the tools for more profit and less stress in your business now so you can turn into a valuable asset later. Welcome to the More Profit, Less Stress podcast. I'm Greg Forzani here with Dennis Takema, and I'd like to start the conversation with a story. So let's take a chef, a mechanic, a hairstylist, whatever. Take somebody that's really good at what they do. They're great at the service they provide or the product they sell, like that industry. They're really, really good at it. And they work in a business somewhere for somebody else, or maybe just as a hobby. And their customers are like, oh my gosh, you're so good at this. And their family and friends are like, you're so great at this. And people start saying, well, you should open your own business because you're so good at this. And the person says, well, that's a fantastic idea. I'm going to go open my own business. And then the dotted line leads to, and we've done quite a bit of research on this recently, give or take 10, 15, 20 years ago, the research kept spitting out that the rate of failure in business was about a little over 80%. Now let's define failure. They defined it as the business closing. So over the lifetime of the business, they closed. And you can get into specifics about in the first year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, there's percentages around that. That's all great. And we have those. But at the end of the day, was a little over 80% of businesses were closing in the lifetime of the business. Fast forward to today. Our recent research, which is super recent, says that, and we took a pretty deep dive on it, says that it's 90 to 95% of businesses are closing over the lifetime of the business. So it's actually getting worse. If we go back to our little story about our chef or plumber or whatever opens a business, the bottom line is 90 to 95% of those people are going to close and fail and have nothing. Like at the end, they will have not built an asset. So today we kind of want to talk about why that might happen. But before we get into why it might happen, let's talk about why do those people want to own a business? And I want to share an opinion, then I want to reference something Dennis said a few days ago. They own it to, freedom of hours, work for myself, build my own schedule, like all that stuff. That's great. But let's just talk money. They want to make, they believe they can make more money. Yeah, exactly. So they make more money.
Or it pays me $35 an hour, charges me out at $75. I'll just go make the $75.
Exactly. So they want to make more money, which is great. And probably a little bit, they believe like, hey, I can build this thing and at some point in time, it's worth something. I can sell it. And some will believe more in that. Some will believe less in it. The bottom line is, like, we're big believers in you should be able to build the business into an asset. And you said something a few days ago or a week ago where think of the business like a stock investment, right? Or some kind of investment.
Like a mutual fund or an RRSP or anything that you're going to put your money into that you want a return on.
Who goes into who goes into an investment with the idea that it's going to be worth nothing at the end? And I want to share a quick story and then Dennis, you kick in a perspective. But here's a great example, drive the point home. Let's pretend you buy an investment property, like a rental house. The concept is, or the purpose is, I'm going to buy this house, I'm going to rent it out every month. And if it costs me this much every month, I want to make this much every month. Like you want a little bit of profit, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say you do that. And your cost is like your principal, interest, taxes, maintenance, if you have a property manager on or whatever all that stuff is. And you make a little bit of money every month. So you make a little bit every month for 20 years, which is successful. It's great. So then the concept is at the end, you literally take a piece of paper, you get a big black felt and you write free house. And you go tape it on the front door, you put the key in the door and you walk away and say, I'm done. Like, who would do that? Like that, anybody listening to that story would be like, Greg, that's stupid. Okay, we'll change the name from rental house to business. And that's what 95% of business owners are doing.
I have a client right now looking to acquire an extension to their business. And they happen to have somebody in the industry they're looking to acquire who is shutting their doors, right? And he's like, hey, Dennis, I think I want to go buy that business. So for context, this couple he's buying from has been in this industry for 25, 30 years. It's been a long time, but their equipment is completely worn out. Their client list, when we looked at the client list overall, he's already doing business with the vast majority of who that person is doing business with. It would just be an extension of his service somewhere else. This person's looking to sell this company because her and her husband want out of this company, and they've been doing it for a long time. They want him to pay a premium, but when you break down what the business is worth, the answer is absolutely zero, because it's not even worth offering money for the contact list. He already has the contact list. It's not worth offering money for the equipment because we'd have to take it from there to a scrapyard and go buy new equipment anyway. So that's the equivalent of having a rental house that you've done your entire life and you've tried to make money from it, and you go, you know what, I'm done. I'm just going to let whoever wants this thing take it over, but it's been condemned. It's covered in mold. You're just going to bulldoze it because there's no value there anymore. It's a tough situation where most people find themselves in, and they never intend to get there when they start the process. I don't know anybody I've ever come across who says, yeah, man, I'm going to go start my plumbing company, and in 10 years, I expect to lose my house, be indebted to the bank, be struggling to pay my bills, and my family is separating because there's been so much tension at home because I just can't make the money in. And quite frankly, I've tried to hire people and they made my life worse. Like nobody sets out with that intention to do it. They think that they're going to be that 5% that makes it, that they may not be the next Elon Musk, but they're going to be the $100 million a year company that takes over the world in their industry because they heard a YouTube video or saw a Facebook reel of some guy who was a plumber at some time who did that thing without knowing any context to it. Like, do you have any idea how many business coaches are out there as business coaches because they had a business before, but they don't tell you that the business itself failed? Like they didn't actually sell it for a premium. They just said, well, I ran my company for 20 years and then I got out of it or whatever else, because the success rate is so small.
And yeah, I agree totally with that. And then probably some other business owners just start because it's like, I want to be my own boss, pick my own hours, whatever, and make the $75 an hour as a plumber versus the 35. And they just don't even think about it as they could build an asset. And then therefore they don't treat it seriously. They don't learn how to become a great business owner, and then they just end up closing. But that goes back to the house story. Like if you're going to buy a rental house, anybody who's been a business owner or is a business owner knows it comes with a lot more stress than just being the employee. Like you may not know that going in, but it is the truth. So if you're going to do that, that's like going to the rental house. Why not do it with the intention of building an asset? Because when you go to retire, having that asset worth, whatever, a few $1,000,000 or more is hugely different in your life compared to not having that asset. Like otherwise you got to be a plumber till you're 80 to still pay the bills. And do you want to do that? Like I've talked to so many tradespeople that, they're older and they work for themselves, they're solopreneurs, and they're just like, oh my God, I hate this. My body's just getting banged up, but I got to keep doing it because it's what I'm good at. It's what I know, and it pays the bills. And my heart drops. I'm like, it's too late to rewind the clock. But if you'd made the right decision before you were 50, maybe even before 55, you could have built this into something you could have, then you wouldn't be in this situation, right? Where you have to work and you got to have the bad knees and all that stuff. So I guess, we don't say this to be doom and gloom. We're trying to open people's eyes to what a business can be, and then kind of maybe today get into a conversation around one of the major reasons they're failing.
I think one of the things to be very clear about here is that statistic of failure rate has nothing and takes into consideration revenue. Meaning the revenue, doesn't matter how high the revenue is, the stats of failure don't change. I mean, Greg and I have had enough clients that are doing in the millions in revenue, but are facing the exact same problems and challenges and frustrations as somebody who's just a chuck in a truck. Like it's not the revenue that's going to save the day. It's not more sales that are going to save the day. It's not like these people didn't go out there and work their butt off to go generate more. It's that the more wasn't the answer because it doesn't fix the foundational structure problem. It's the whole concept of building a house on sand. I can build the best house on sand with no foundation, and the first storm comes up, the first tide comes up, and it washes the entire thing away because it was never built foundationally properly to ever get into something that's sellable down the road. And go back to the failure rate just for a second. I talked to a gentleman who's part of one of the biggest business brokerages in Canada. He's a business broker. He buys and sells businesses for people, no different than a real estate agent. He told me 70% of businesses that get listed with their firm do not sell. Nobody buys them. That is a massive number. And he says of the 30 that do, the majority of those ends up with the owner of it walking away with way less than they anticipated because the buyer wasn't willing to pay for it.
And they vendor finance, which says it's not worth anything.
And vendor
much.
finance means that the owner is willing to let you pay them in payments to take the business over versus going to a bank to get the funding and getting the cash.